another one. There you go. Stuck on a short lead. Oh, no.
Perfect. So first of all, I want to thank you very much. Saturday night, a beautiful day today here in Halifax, and you are taking the time to be here tonight to listen to a politician about the future of our country. But we don't have rock music like Pierre had this afternoon. And I'm not speaking about buzzword, and I don't have a specific joke for you today. But I'm telling the truth. And what you just hear tonight about the reality of COVID hysteria that we had the last 2 years. And I must admit that I'm a little bit tired to speak against these draconian mandates that we had. I believe that Pierre Poilievre is not, because he's just starting to speak about that. So,
He said he didn't have a joke.
I thought Trudeau was a joke.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
The mainstream politician and traditional politician, you may know that right now. We created that party based on 4 principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And we won't do any compromise with our principle. So when COVID-19 started, I must admit that it took me 8 weeks to look at it and say, something is wrong here. And I started to do my own research, to speak with my team, with Canadians, and I saw great doctors, experts, signing the Great Burlington Declaration. And I said, yeah, that must be the solution. So, and I know our Charter of Rights. I know our rights. And I started to do rallies. But also I decided not to take the 2 shots, because I looked at the data at that time. And we had the data early in the beginning. And we knew that, for a man of my age, without any comorbidities, the risk for dying from COVID was 0.05%. So I said, the statistics are in my favor. I won't take that vaccine. It's my personal choice. And actually, it's an experimental vaccine. So I don't want that. But I will respect everybody.
Sounds like
That's your personal decision, every one of you. So I believe in freedom of choice. And when I said that, all the establishment politicians were there on TV and having the first shot. And at that time, the mainstream media, they were happy to have me and to, put me in the front page and saying that Bernier is a crazy guy, is anti-vax, like you just said. I don't believe in science, and that was all that. But I knew that that was the right thing to do. And we did some rallies, like I said before in the beginning in Montreal. If we were 100% in the first rally in 2020 during the winter, that was the maximum. And I traveled a little bit across. I went in Ontario with Randy Hillier and with Derek Sloan, and we did some rallies with the freedom fighters. Our freedom fighters, grassroots freedom fighters, nurses, ordinary Canadians, veterans, Canadians that, like me and like you, said something is wrong in this country. So we did the rallies, and I can tell you the last one that I did in Montreal, on the street, 45,000 people. That movement, and that's because of you. That's because of us, that after that, the truckers, they had a momentum, and they decided enough is enough. And they knew that they were essential workers in the beginning of the pandemic when we didn't have any vaccine. They were the only one that were able to cross our borders and bring us food and what we need. And now 2 years later, Trudeau told them that you're dangerous for the population if you're not vaccinated. And actually, they're alone in their truck. They must not be so dangerous. And 80% of them had the 2 shots. But the beauty of that, the 80% worked with the 20%, and we are together in that. And I can tell you, I was there in Ottawa, -15, -10, it was cold. But it was fun. It was not a protest. It was a celebration. We were there knowing that we will win that battle. We knew it. And actually we did, because of the truckers. We did because a couple of days later, Saskatchewan, Alberta decided to end their mandate, but they didn't say, oh, it's because of the truckers. They didn't say that. And the mainstream media, they were saying that we're a bunch of racists, and they tried to discredit us, because that movement was and is powerful. When you tell the truth based on facts, you will always win. The question is when. And the mainstream media, I was there, I saw CBC, they were around me and tried to find the most crazy person in the crowd and tried to discredit us. But I was just there and didn't want to do an interview with me. But I can tell you, I did mainstream media in Paris at 6 o'clock at night. I did a mainstream media in Germany, in UK, and they were interested of our story. And because of the truckers, that became something internationally. And I did another podcast today with a guy in Texas. And he said, I was so proud to see you Canadians during that freedom convoy. And I was a little bit mad because usually it must come from the US that. But it was not coming from us, it was coming from you. So we had that momentum, and you were there when it was not popular, when we were maybe 2-3% of the population, and we grew our movement. And these establishment politicians, they look at the polls, they look at the focus group, because they don't have any conviction. They try to tell you what you want to hear, and they'll do the opposite or not. And they saw that trend from 5%, 10%, 15%, the truckers, and they wanted to stay in power. You don't need to be the majority to do a revolution. And they saw that and said, oh, we must do something different because that trend will grow and I may not be reelected. These premiers across the country saw that, and that's why they ended the mandate. That's the same thing with the Conservative Party of Canada. We didn't have any opposition in Ottawa the last 2 years. They were doing everything that Justin Trudeau did, and they approved everything. No opposition in Ottawa, and now they're in a leadership contest, and they're speaking about freedom, more freedom, a freer country, because it's popular now. There's no risk. We must judge a man, a politician, by his actions. Where were they the last 2 years? Nowhere to be seen. And now they want to defend our civilization, our freedoms, and our rights. They're not credible. But I'm happy that at least they're speaking about freedom now. But like I did in 2019, we cannot trust establishment politicians. And that's why I left the Conservative Party of Canada. I said the Conservative Party is intellectually and morally corrupt because they're not conservative. They're just conservative in name. And their goal is to be in government. And as you may know, there's more ridings in the big GTA in Toronto than in all the province of Alberta, about 40 seats over there. And we know that in big cities, they are more socialist, leftist, woke, and if you want to have these seats, you will have to pander to them. and they're doing pandering, identity politics, and that's why Polyev and all these candidates can speak about freedom right now because it's popular. And when will be the time for the election? They will do polling and focus group, and they will go to the left. When they're doing that, they're giving credibility to the leftist narrative because they're speaking like socialists and leftists, but they have the name conservative. So we cannot trust them. They're just doing politics based on survey and polling without any conviction. But I can tell you, what is just and true? It may not be popular, but it's not because that something is popular that it is just and true. We must speak about what we believe openly with passion and conviction, and we will have more support. That's what we did at the PPC, and we will do. We created that party 0% 2018, 1.6% 2019, 5% at the last election. We triple our score, and I believe at the next election we will grow, maybe triple our score also to 15%. So there's no limit when you speak about the truth. And for me, if I don't have a majority when I'm saying something now, it's okay, because I strongly believe that we have the best vision for this country when you want to respect your constitution, when we want to respect our freedoms and our Charter of Rights, respecting the provincial autonomy. So we have the right vision for this country, and I believe that the more we speak about it, the more support we will have, like we just did in the last 3 years. It took 15 years for the Green Party to have more than 1% of the vote, and we did that at our first election. And now, after 35 years, the Green Party had 2%. And us, after 3 years, 5%. And 5%. 5%, and they didn't want me to be on the stage for the national debates because they know that the truth is powerful. They know that if they gave me more visibility, I will have more support faster. So I was not there. They created a new rule for a new political party. They said you need to have 4% of the vote to be part of the national debate. But you know what? We did it. We had 5%. And next time, that will be fun. We'll be on the stage and I will debate. So the Bible, it's about our values, our way of life, our conservative family values. You know, wokeism, socialism is everywhere. So that's why we are saying no to the international organization that try to impose their vision on us. The UN, you know, I know that Pierre said, oh, I want to impose a carbon tax. Yes, but it will impose more regulation. And when you impose more regulation on a business, there's a cost. And usually the business will put that on you. So, yes, we are against a carbon tax, but the most important, we won't sign the Paris Accord. It's because of the Paris Accord that we have a carbon tax. So, but these globalist politicians will do everything with the UN. Yeah, they signed the Paris Accord, the conservative, the NDP, and the liberals. But same thing also for immigration. The UN, they have the UN Compact on Migration. The goal of the UN is everybody can be a citizen of every country. We must have open borders and mass immigration. They're not speaking about that, the conservative, because if you speak about that, they're going to say you are racist, and they're afraid of that. They don't want to deal with that. At our first election in 2019, I said this is our policy on immigration. And when I delivered that policy in 2019, I was downtown Toronto. And in the crowd, we had black people, white people, Jewish people, every faith, Muslim, every ethnicity. And you know why? I said I'm against mass immigration, and that's what we have in our country, 450,000 immigrants a year, and 76% of them are not skilled immigrants, are fake refugees coming from the state of New York, crossing our border illegally in Quebec, and also people coming under reunification of family. We need more skilled immigrants, and we need to have fewer immigrants and a sustainable immigration system. So I said that, and in the crowd, people said, yeah, Maxime, you're right. Because when I came here 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I had to respect some rules. I had to speak English or French. And if I didn't speak, I wasn't able to come here. You know, and I had to demonstrate that I believe in your values, that I know a man and a woman are equal before the law. And I had to do an interview with a civil servant from the immigration department. That was us at that time. And that's why these people came here and build our country with us together. And now they're saying that mass immigration, everybody can come without speaking English or French, and it's open borders. They're saying it's unfair. It's unfair because I was coming here for the right reason, to be freer, to embrace your values. And I'm seeing all these people that we don't know why they are coming here, and they are telling that they're refugees when they cross the border in Quebec. They're not refugees. It's not us. We need to help the real refugees where they're waiting somewhere where their life is in danger, not the people that are crossing with their Gucci from New York to Quebec. They're not refugees. And now we have a housing crisis. And actually, I must admit that our finance minister, Minister Freeland, had she had 2 minutes of in a press conference when she said something that it's based on facts. When she said at a question, you know, immigration and our housing challenges, it's mathematical. We have too many people and fewer houses. So that's why we have that problem. But the solution, yes, we have mass immigration. And we know that 40% of these immigrants that are coming to Canada are going to Toronto and Vancouver. So that's why we have housing prices going up over there. So if you want to solve that, you have fewer immigrants. That's it. That's simple like that. But the conservative and the liberals won't speak about that. And what happened after that? People from Toronto and Vancouver are moving because houses are very high over there. They cannot afford that. They're moving where? In other cities across the country, and prices is going up here. So the solution is a sustainable immigration, saying no to mass immigration. But what Pierre Poilievre wants to do, he wants to tell your city, the people that you elected at your municipal level, that they must change their zoning laws. They must be able to have more big buildings with condo in your city for these people. He doesn't want to respect our constitution. This is a provincial jurisdiction. And you know, you are voting here for your mayor at the municipal level, and the debate must be here in your city, not in Ottawa telling you what to do. But that's the Pierre Poilievre who believes in freedom and respecting our Charter of Rights, but he doesn't want to respect our Constitution. And he doesn't want to look at the real solution for that, because it's not popular. It's not popular to speak about fewer immigrants. But I can tell you, I will speak about it until we win, and maybe a day, Poilievre and the Conservative will say, okay, now we have too many immigrants and we must have more skilled immigrants. But that's not the case, because they want to have the vote. And where they're going, Toronto and Vancouver, and there's a lot of seats over there, and they think that if you speak like that, they won't be with you. Maybe the new immigrants, but the people that came here 5 years, 10 years ago, they understand that we must change that. And they must accept our values. That's important. We are fighting for civilization right now. Wokeism is everywhere. So we're not afraid of this debate. We're not afraid to speak about the truth. But the mainstream political party won't speak about that. And I can give you another example. The last election, I had a question about abortion. What is your position on abortion by the mainstream media? And you know, the conservative didn't want to open the debate because the mainstream media don't want to have that discussion. And I said, you know, I did an interview at the last campaign, and I said, I don't think that, you know, it's normal that in Canada, we don't have any legislation on abortion, like in China, North Korea, and Cuba. And so we must have something. And actually, the next question is, are you pro-life? Are you pro-choice? I said, the People's Party won't have a position on that. It's a personal position. And the People's Party, we are accepting candidates that are pro-choice and candidates that are pro-life. So that's a personal decision. And I understand that we'll have some candidates that maybe table a legislation on abortion, and we'll have that debate. We have a parliament because that's the place to have debates. But the conservative and the liberal don't want to do anything about that. What I'm saying, and the next question is, you, Maxime, are you pro-choice? I want to know, are you pro-choice or pro-life? I said, you know, one of our candidates will table a bill on abortion. I will read it and I will decide. But I can tell you personally, I'm against late-term abortion. I'm against the fact that you cannot have abortion. That you can have an abortion an hour before giving birth.
That's right.
So, and it's the same thing in all the democratic countries. In Europe, in US, everywhere, they have a legislation against late-term abortion. And I'm against also personally on sex selection abortion.
That's right. Yeah.
So we must have legislation on that. And maybe some of our candidates will table a legislation that will restrict abortion earlier than that. Let's have that debate. Let's have that debate. There's no taboo subject for us. It's important to have this debate in a democratic country. And Poliev said that he's pro-choice, Trudeau is pro-choice, and for Trudeau and Poliev, you know, my body, my choice. When it's the time for abortion, we must follow that. My body, my choice. But for COVID-19, my body, my choice. No, it's the state's choice. It's not your decision. That's not in line with our Constitution. That's unethical. That's illegal. That's immoral. And we must fight that. And we did it. And I will speak against these kind of mandates and to regain our freedom until we win that battle. And I can tell you, we will win that battle sooner than later. And now, you know, it's popular, and the conservatives are always for that. It's popular to be pro-Ukraine in the war against Russia. And I wrote and I tweeted a couple of weeks ago that it's not our war. There's a lot of war all around the world, and you know, we're broke first. We don't have any money to give them. We don't have any money for us.
There is no war.
And so we're broke.
The war is here.
Yeah, we must fight for Canada first. You have a point there. But I said, you know, That's not our war, and we must find a diplomatic solution of that conflict. And actually, that's part of our history as a country. Lester B. Person, because of him, we have the peacekeeper in the UN, and that's our history, to try to have peace all across. And now, when I said that, I just want to give you an anecdote about the mainstream media. I was in Montreal, and we received a call from the Journal de Montréal. Le Journal de Montréal is the biggest francophone newspaper in Quebec. And they are canceling me all the time. But that time a journalist called, and my team called me, Maxime, you'll have an interview with the Journal de Montréal. I said, that's great. About what? About Ukraine. Oh, okay, perfect. But you know, Maxime, it must be before 12 because they want to do that story tomorrow. And I had a full agenda, so we changed my agenda, so I was free. I called the journalist at 11 o'clock the same day. And the journalist wanted to speak about me because I said that the war in Ukraine, it's not our war. And he thought that I was pro-Putin. And he wanted to have a story about Maxime being pro-Putin. So
A setup.
a setup, yeah. So I did the interview, 20 minutes, it went well. And I was able to see the question about Putin, and I explained my position. I said, no, Putin is a dictator, a murderer, I'm not pro-Putin. And I said, you know, Putin had a point before doing that invasion. He said to the West, I don't want any NATO base in Ukraine. And that was part of why he invaded Ukraine, but with other reasons. But what he said the same thing that John F. Kennedy said in 1962, when the Soviet wanted to have a Soviet base in Cuba. That was in Cuba in 1962, and Kennedy said to the Soviet, I don't want missiles in Cuba, a Soviet base in Cuba at my doors. And that was a big conflict. And they had an agreement. The Soviets said, okay, we won't put any missiles on Cuba. And Kennedy said, okay, we won't have more missiles in Europe. That was good for Kennedy. And now Putin is asking that. He doesn't want a NATO base in Ukraine at his door. And we are pushing Ukraine to ask for being part of NATO and to have a NATO base over there. I can understand his point, but that was not a reason to invade Ukraine. But you must put everything in perspective. And that's our position. We are for peace and prosperity like we did a couple of years before. That's the historical position of our country. But doing that, there's 1.2 million people from Ukraine that are in Canada. And the Conservative Party is pandering to them. They want us to fight for Ukraine. And I can understand that if you are coming from Ukraine and you're a Canadian now, you still have a kind of a link with your former country. But they're doing that only for votes. They're not doing that for all our country. And that's not good. And we need to put them together and asking Ukraine and Putin to be around the table and have that discussion. Now it's escalating, and it can be very dangerous for the security of the world. So I believe that it is not responsible what the liberals and the conservatives are doing and their position on Ukraine. We must not be part of that conflict. That's not our history as a country. And we must be able to play a leadership role and saying to them, enough is enough, be at the table, we must solve that conflict as soon as possible.
No blood for votes.
Yeah, no blood for votes.
What's your view on the...
I just want to finish about that. So I said that to the journalist, and I was very happy with that interview. And after that, the morning after, nothing in the newspaper. And my guy called and said, how come it's not in the newspaper? oh, you know, it's not important anymore, we won't write a story, blah, blah, blah. Why it was not in the newspaper? Because it was not part of their narrative. They want to show Bernier as a crazy pro-Putin, and because they were not able to write that, they decided not to print the story and my interview. That's the mainstream media. We have to fight against that, and we will. That's a big challenge for us as a political party. But I was pleased when I was in Cape Breton. I did the Cape Breton Post. I was with him 1 hour, and they print my interview, factual. I was very happy. So when I'm traveling like that across the country, it's a great opportunity for me to meet our people, to be with you, to listen to you, to speak about the PPC, and also to do some local mainstream media, local radio station, local newspaper. I did the radio station with the guy, what's the name?
Todd Vito, and then Riley's here, Seaside FM.
Yeah, Todd, yeah. And yeah, thank you. Yes, and they asked me the right question, the tough questions, and so that's why that's a way for us when I'm traveling to be present in the traditional mainstream local media, but also I'm also trying to be very active on social media. So what I'm telling you tonight, I want to show you that we are doing politics differently. If you like what I'm saying, perfect. I hope that you will support us, support Michel, and vote for us. And if you don't like what I'm saying, it's okay. You can vote for 5 other traditional mainstream political parties. We won't change. The platform of the People's Party is based on these 4 principles that I said, and all our policies are in line with that. If you have an idea for a new policy for the PPC, it will have to be in line with our 4 principles. We'll look at it, and we will update our platform if it's in line with what we believe. So the platform that we had in 2019 was the same one in 2021, and will be the same one at the next election. So if you want to know more about that, don't hesitate. Go on our website, People's Party of Canada, read it, because I need you. It's not about Maxime Bernier, it's not about me, it's about you. We need to do that common sense revolution in this country, ending the wokeism and all that, and we will do that together. That's important for the future of this country. We have a strong vision, and I believe in you, and I don't believe in big fat government that will tell you what to do. So you must be free, but also responsible. Right now, we are not free. We are not free because we have still mandates, and I still cannot travel across the country. And you saw what happened to people that decided personally not to take the 2 shots. That is a big discrimination. It's unfair. So what we must do, we must speak to our people that decided to have the 2 shots. That was their decision, and I respect that. But I can tell you, I'm traveling, and more in our rally, I have people coming to me, Maxime, I had the 2 shot, and I understand what you want to do, and I'm with you. So we have more people, not only the unvaccinated one. I said during the campaign, we want to unite everybody under the freedom umbrella and the freedom of choice. Trudeau and the Conservatives were dividing the population. There's good Canadians, the one that decided to take the 2 shots, and bad Canadians, myself, that decided to no. I said no to the 2 shots and no to the vaccine passport. We must end that. We are the only country on this planet that does not allow our citizens to travel freely by plane or by train in our country with no reason.
There are the regretful ones that took the vaccination, and now they are regretful. So there's 3 categories.
Yeah, absolutely. So we must respect everybody, and that must end. But you know, when I'm doing rallies, I have always 1 person, 2 or 3 that are coming to me after saying, Maxime, I lost my job because of my personal medical decision. That's unfair. And I said in the beginning, all these people must be reintegrated as soon as possible and compensate. Compensate. Full compensation for them. And for me, they're my heroes. You know, you follow your principle, and you are paying the price for that. You don't have a job. You don't have a salary. You cannot, and you said, you know, my principles are most important, and I know I will fight that, and I will win when the time will come. And I can tell you, there's the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, a non-profit organization. They're fighting for our freedoms, and it's free. And they have cases all across the country for civil servants that lost their job, and they have cases on every subject of COVID-19, mask mandate, losing your job, all that. The bad news is they lost the majority of their cases the last 2 years. But the good news is they are appealing all these cases, and I believe that they will win. If they have to go at the Supreme Court of Canada, they will win. And all these Canadians that fight for us and in line with their values and said, you know, I don't want that, and they are paying the price, it's unfair. And I can tell you, we'll do everything with the Justice Center and me as a politician to be sure that you'll be compensated for that. It's happening in a country that is supposed to be free and democratic. That's not our country anymore. And that's because of politicians that didn't fight for you the last 2 years. The Conservatives, the Liberals, the NDP, they all agreed with that. It's okay to discriminate based on your medical choice. It's supposed to be private. It's supposed just the fact to ask the question, did you take the shot? It is illegal to ask that question. It's your personal choice, and it must stay personal. So I will end there, and I will take some questions. But my goal tonight, my only goal tonight, is for you to look at what we are offering and the ideas. And I just want you to remember that we are putting Canadians first and our country first. That's the goal of this party. And yes, we are a populist party, smart populist party with strong ideas for a freer and a better country. And for me, it's not slogan or buzzword. That's a reality. And if it's popular or not, it's not important for me. I know that with your help, we'll be able, because we are speaking the truth. And it is just what we need to do together. So I want you to be the change, to be part of the change, and to stand up and speak out about what you believe. If you don't do it, we won't win. We need you to be there. What is the goal of having the best ideas and keeping that for ourselves? We won't be able to change the public opinion, because that is what I'm doing at the political level, to change the public opinion. And that's a common sense revolution. But I need everybody who believes in this country to stand up with me. And I can tell you that the last election we had 840,000 votes. And if each one of these voters find 10 new supporters, and you have 3 years to do that, by the way.
If we have 2 years.
Maybe 2 or 3. We'll be at 8 million votes, and we'll be at 20%.
Woo!
That revolution will happen because of you. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you. So, the time is running. I have time for questions. Be short and quick, and I'll try to do the same on my side. And we'll be able to take more questions. The first one over there.
So I know that PPC is a small and growing what we can do, what we could do to stop the voting from the May 22nd to May 28th with the pandemic treaty, giving WHO full sovereignty over Canada and I believe 152 other countries.
Yeah, so she's speaking about the pandemic treaty coming from the World Health Organization, and we will have a vote in Parliament before the end of May or beginning of June. Can we stop that? No. If Trudeau and Singh want to sign that, it will pass, they will have the majority. But what we can do, we can always undo that. We are a sovereign country. And actually, the conservatives are not speaking about that because they're globalists. And yes, that would be medical tyranny imposed by the World Health Organization like they did the last 2 years. We don't want that. We will fight that always. But if it is enforced, we can undo it, and we will, a little bit like Trump did in the US when they signed the Paris Accord, and after that Trump said, no, I'm not part of that. We are a sovereign country, and we'll be able to do the opposite when the time will come. Thank you.
If you have a question, I'll bring you the microphone, so just put your hand up and I'll bring you the mic.
Yes.
Hi. So I was at the rally earlier today, and I was talking to Maria, this lovely lady, afterwards. She had a very good question, which I said I would ask for her.
Yeah.
Will there be a Canada when you are in power? Because that is the biggest concern, is can we wait another 3 years? Canada is in an emergency crisis right now, in this moment. Children are being abused, and see, I was falsely charged. Nobody has ever observed me doing anything to my children, but it was legal. It shouldn't be. I've been held guilty prior to proven innocent. No one has observed me anything, and yet my children have been fully removed by the police. So what I want to know is
5 of them.
right. So if lies can be said about a person, and the worst human rights injustice can happen to them, then how comes we cannot, as the people, say, excuse me, but Trudeau has done horrible crimes against humanity and should be in prison, if at all?
So the answer to that is yes, we can do something right now, and we are doing something right now. We don't have to wait 3 years for the election. Trudeau is there, but what he's doing actually is unconstitutional and illegal. So what we are doing, we are fighting in the court. And when we'll have a decision, and me personally, as you know, I'm fighting with Brian Petford, but we'll have decision in the court. I just want to put you in the context. When the Justice Center, they had all these negative decisions during the pandemic from judges. You're gonna say, all the judges, they said it's okay, and it's okay, Trudeau, you can do that. You can pass regulation and legislation against our rights, and judges said that. But put yourself in their shoes. You're a judge. You look at every government in Canada that are pushing the mandates, and you look at the survey and you say that you can see that 70% of the population agree with that. So if you take a decision that is not in line with that, you'll be the first one to do that. You'll have 70% of the population against you and all the government against you. These judges didn't have the courage to decide in line with our Charter of Rights. Now, we are appealing these cases, and we're not in the middle of a pandemic, and now the population have shifted, and maybe 40% of the population are saying on this subject, enough is enough, and so the pandemic is over. It is easier for a judge to judge in line with our Constitution. That's why I'm pretty optimistic that all these cases, we will appeal them, and we will them, and an appeal can take 1 year maximum. So we will have decision concerning our rights and freedom maybe before the next election. And that's why we are doing, there's 2 battles. The battles in the court that the Justice Center is doing and I'm doing, and the other battle is to change the public opinion that I'm doing by traveling across the country, because public opinion is important for these traditional politicians that only do politics on polling and survey, like I told you. So there's hope, because I believe that these judges right now, after the pandemic, it will be easier to give us the right decision in line with the Constitution.
They should have done that in the first place.
Yeah, but you didn't have any courage.
Sorry, just another short thing. So if this happens, okay, but why is it not possible? Why is it not legally possible for you, for anyone, to say the person or the people running our country are criminals, and we need an emergency election? We need one now. We need a re-election, because we should not be having criminals running our country.
Yeah, so that's, okay, the question is about the agreement that Trudeau did with the NDP to stay in power. And that agreement, it's constitutional. We are in a parliamentary system, and you have political parties that are having agreement like that. It's legal, it's okay, it's in our parliamentary tradition. And we don't like it, but they can have that. I believe that maybe we'll have an election before the end of the mandate, before 3 years, because I believe that the NDP, why the NDP signed that agreement, it's because they're not ready for an election, and they're not so high in the poll. They're very low right now, about 15%. So when the NDP will go up, and they believe that they will go up in the poll, they will be ready for an election, and they're going to say to Trudeau, enough is enough, I want an election, because they think that they will have more seats. So I believe that maybe we'll have an election in 2 years and not in 3 years. But what Trudeau is doing with the NDP, now I agree with you. We have a socialist government, a liberal NDP government, that we didn't vote for that. But we didn't vote for that. But that's the reality. And in a parliamentary system, that's okay. That's the history of our system. You can have agreement between parties. So I cannot bring them in front of the court, because that happened in Ontario. Bob Ray had an agreement. They had an agreement in BC with the Green and the NDP, and the Green supported the NDP for 2 years. So that is part of our history as a parliamentary system. It's bad, but it's happening, and we'll try. And that's why I can tell you that for us, we're gonna be ready for the next election, and we triple our score. We're going to do the same thing, 15%, and I won't be alone in Parliament. We'll have candidates that will be elected, and we'll start this debate. The mainstream media will have to follow us. We will be doing that common sense revolution together. But we need to fight, and do that fight right now. That's what I'm doing also. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I don't need a microphone. So are you aware that now common law is no longer practiced? It's rule of law here in Canada. So when the RCMP come for you, you are no longer innocent until proven guilty. You are guilty until proven innocent. And so that's happening to lots of people, lots of good people.
Freedom fighters, yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Even not shit disturbers.
It happened to me, actually. I was
I've been to prison 3 times, 150 days in the last 2 years. The RCMP are out of their minds.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So how do we get back to common law?
Well, first of all, the RCMP right now, it's a woke organization. And they are listening. I'll give you the example. How can we do that? We need to have the right people at the right place. Now we are putting woke people, and they're in charge of RCMP because they're black or because, they're woke. We need to judge people by their character, by their competence, and we don't have that anymore at the RCMP. And I was a victim of that. When I went to Manitoba before the last election, I did a rally in a park. Not a rally, it was a meeting with our executive over there. We were 10 in a park. The rule was maximum 5 gathering outside in a park with social distancing. We were 10, and I had that meeting with my people, and I left after that. I was the only one that was arrested, handcuffed, and put in jail. For what? for a non-crime after a political gathering in a park. Why? Because the premier over there didn't want me to have a rally in Winnipeg, and they put me in jail for 12 hours, and I was not able to have that rally. That was unconstitutional, illegal, immoral. That was political repression in our country right now. And I'm not the only one. I know that people were 5 days, 4 days in jail just to protest. And yes, you cannot be in jail. The maximum that you must be in jail, it's 2 or 3 hours. And after that, the judge must decide and give you a decision about why you are in jail. So it's not happening. I agree with you. It's not happening right now. That's why I said we are under a dictatorship, authoritarian government. And now these politicians, they did during COVID-19, they didn't want to listen to the other narrative. They were controlling, spending a lot of money in advertising and promoting their propaganda, canceling people that don't agree with them, like me, like other people, like you, like the freedom fighters. That's why I said we need an ideological revolution, a common sense revolution, a freedom revolution in this country to change that. Yeah.
Max, I have a question.
Do I burn my passport now? It's just a yes or a no.
I don't. What is your question?
Do I burn my passport, my 10-year passport that I paid $160 for? Do I burn it now? And those are my 5 children. Because we are not vaccinated and we will never be vaccinated.
No, I won't never be vaccinated also. Don't do that. Be with me. Fight for a better future. I won't leave this country. I'm fighting for you here, and I will do that fight until I win. So I want you to stay with us and do that fight with us, please.
So it's a totally different kind of question. It's just in regards to our future education system. So our education system is highly outdated. It's been the same for like 100 years.
Yeah.
And clearly, a lot of people also don't know the Constitution.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if that's something that might interest you, like introducing the Constitution and learning the Constitution in our elementary, junior high, and high school, and also modernizing our education system and taking out the fillers that are currently in there. Yeah.
In your question, you have the answer. And when you said it's provincial, we have to respect our constitution, and the education system is 100% provincial. So me as a politician doing politics at the federal level, I want to respect, and I cannot do anything there. What I can do, I can speak about what is happening and against all the wokeism and the fact that we are telling a young boy that he may not be a young boy. And but I cannot act because I want to respect our constitution. The battle must be at the provincial level. The battle must be at the provincial level, and you can build a party at the provincial level or speak, and that's the battle. I cannot change the education system. It's 100%.
So is the medical system. It is supposed to be legislated at the provincial level.
Yeah, you're right. The medical system. I like your question. I hope I can do something. That's why there's a lot of parents that are homeschooling right now. And we must promote that. They're tired of that culture there.
I thought it was federal, because I know that each province has to answer to higher up to make sure that the children are all reaching milestones.
No. What is under the federal government is universities only. So, and what we can do there, and I said that, we will cut all fundings to universities, the woke universities, if they don't have a real freedom platform, freedom of speech at their university, so that we can do that. But under universities, it's 100% under provincial jurisdiction. So your question was about healthcare. That's a good question. Right now, because we have waiting lists after COVID, and that's worse, so we don't have good services, healthcare services. Do you know who to blame? Is it your provincial government or the federal government? You don't know who to blame, because maybe you're saying the federal government is not giving enough money to my province, so maybe that's why. or maybe it's because my province is not efficient at managing a good healthcare system. I want you, and healthcare, you're right, it's provincial jurisdiction. But the federal government is interfering by spending money that we don't have, and the federal government is giving $40 billion a year to provinces for healthcare. And I want you to know who to blame, because you have waiting lists here in Halifax, here in Nova Scotia. So we are the only political party that is speaking about that, and you can go on our website and read our platform. What we must do, I don't like taxes. I don't like to tax people. Why the federal government is taxing all these Canadians, and after that I'm turning around and saying to provincial governments, you want my money? You must do that and that and that. When I don't manage any hospital and I don't know anything about that, the challenges are different from one province to another one. So the federal government must not be part of that. So what we must do, we will cut that funding. $40 billion, we won't give that to provinces. So we said, Bernier, you're a radical. What we will do, we'll do better than that. All the income coming from the GST at the federal level, the GST that you are paying, the federal government received, by the way, $41 billion. So what I want to do, I want to give the GST to provinces. Like that, they will be able to raise their own money for their own responsibility. They will have the GST. I want you take the GST and turning back and giving subsidies. They will be in charge of the GST. They will have all the incomes coming from the GST. The federal government will be smarter, and now you'll know who to blame for waiting lists. That will be your provincial government, and if they don't put enough money, they will have the GST. They will be able to put more money. But usually, in Quebec, that's the case. 48% of the provincial budget in Quebec, and that must be the same here, it's going to healthcare. So it's not a question of putting more money. We want to give the right incentive to your provincial government to do the best for you and giving you the best services. So they will be in charge of raising their money, but because they have also other departments that they must give money, they will have the incentive to look at a better system. A system where everybody will have a universal coverage, and you'll be able to choose if you want to go to a private clinic or a public hospital, like in Europe. In Sweden, all these countries in Europe, not in the United States, they have that system, and they're spending less money globally than in Canada, and they're more efficient, and there's no waiting list over there. So we must give that incentive. We must have the courage to do that, and if you do that, you respect the Constitution, you respect the autonomy of your provincial government. You know that the better government is the government that is near the people. So your provincial government, you can have more influence on your provincial government than on the federal government. And the provincial government will have the right incentive. Maybe if they don't do that, and it's always public and they put more money, they won't be able to build roads or other things. So they will have the incentive to look, and they will be fully responsible. They won't be able to come back to the federal government. That's why we believe in individual freedom and personal responsibility. That's the same thing for our jurisdictions. Provincial politicians must be responsible, and they will be with that reform.
Bonjour. We have an entire generation right now of young soldiers who can't afford to live on the salary. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
No. Use the microphone.
So we have an entire generation of young soldiers who can't afford to live right now. Their salary just doesn't cut it for the rate of inflation, as well as just the cost of living before all the recent increases in the cost of living. What, in your platform, do you have to take care of our soldiers?
Yes, it's a provincial. I'm speaking about the Constitution. It's the first responsibility of a federal government, defense. national defense, our soldiers, our veterans. Go on our platform, read our policy on veterans, and what we want to do, we want to reinvest in our Canadian forces. I was the Foreign Affairs Minister in 2008, and in 2008, we were in war in Afghanistan. And Harper told me, Maxime, we need to have more help coming from other countries. We need to have planes. They need to help us, France and UK and Germany. So maybe you saw that on YouTube. In 2008, I went to Davos. Oh, Davos. At the same time when they had the World Economic Forum in 2008. Oh, Bernie is a globalist. I was there, why? Because Harper told me we need to have help. We don't have the equipment, and we still don't have the equipment for our Canadian forces right now.
Amen to
So
that.
I decided to go to Davos because all these foreign affairs ministers were there for that conference. And for me, being there for 2 days, I had the opportunity to have meetings with them and asking them, please, help us, please. And France did, Germany did, UK did. And after the 2 days, I left. I never accessed to that conference, but that was very useful for me to meet all these foreign affairs ministers that were there for that conference at the same time and asking for help in Afghanistan. And after that, I left. So some people on social media are saying Bernier is a globalist because he was at the conference, World Economic Conference in 2008. Yes, I was in Davos in 2008. I was not at that conference, and I did my job as a foreign affairs minister that I'm proud of. I'm not a globalist. I don't believe in these socialist organizations and that want to impose a digital ID, digital currency and controlling us, and that will be the beginning of a social credit like in China. We are against that. We want a smaller government that won't be able to control anybody, and I want you to be able to do what you want with your life.
Happening in Sweden.
Sorry?
That's happening in Sweden.
Yeah, that's happening. Actually, we need to fight. Yeah, we don't want to have these global organizations telling us what to do, and that's happening right now because Trudeau agrees with all that. So that's why we have all these policy implemented in our country here. We need to fight that. But the conservative won't speak about that. Oh no, they don't want because it's not popular. So they will wait until it's popular. They will speak against that. They don't have any conviction. They're globalists. We are not globalists. We want to put our country first, Canada first, and our Canadian first. And that's why we are a populist party. We are here for you, for Canadians, and we are doing everything for you to be freer and more prosperous. So I will end on that, and I will still be with you. If you have other questions, I'm not leaving. But I want to thank you very much. Stay strong and free, and we will win that revolution.
So that ends the rally. So thank you so much for coming out to listen to Max's vision, and stay strong.